Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. It's my privilege to be here with great Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and Executive Vice President of ABCD, Sharon Scott Shannon, to discuss the newly expanded and modified child tax credit rescue plan. Right now, in the United States, nearly 11 million children are living in poverty. Most of whom are black, brown, and immigrant children. 6 million children live in a household where they did not eat enough because their parents did not earn enough to put food on the table. And in Massachusetts, 1 in 8 children live at the federal poverty level. 1 in 4 lives in a low-income family, and 1 in 3 live below the family economic self-sufficiency measure. And that is unacceptable, especially in a country where the 3 richest men have more wealth than the bottom 50% of our population combined. But the American Rescue Plan, President Biden signed into law earlier this month, will help chip away at this economic inequality that has plagued our country since its founding. The provision of the child tax credit in the American Rescue Plan makes this critical relief available to all families and parents who need it. It raises the maximum credit from $2,000 to $3,000 per child and $3,600 per child if they are under the age of 6. More than 1 million children in the state of Massachusetts will benefit from this expanded child tax credit. 43% of those 1 million children are black and brown. It is a significant increase in the funding that will be going into each family to ensure their children have what they need. And unlike before, the American Rescue Plan allows families to utilize this relief prior to tax season, making it so that if they have the money, they get it when they need it, not when the government deems that they get it. And with these changes, over 4.1 million children nationally will be lifted above the poverty line, slicing the total number of children in poverty in the United States by 40%. This is an historic investment in the children in our country. It shows what can happen when Democrats are put in charge of the tax code. But more importantly, it's simply a down payment. Because while half of our nation's children will be lifted out of poverty, I have to ask, what about the other half still living on far too little? 1 child in poverty in our country is 1 too many, if you ask me. We must take this enormous achievement and make it permanent. We need to ensure that children don't fall back into poverty when this child tax credit expires. Because this relief currently has an expiration date, but parenting does not. Feeding and clothing your child does not. Parenting is the most difficult job there is. And when you worry about when your child's next meal will be, or if they will be able to have enough school supplies, that job is made even harder. We must lessen the load of American families by ensuring that they are given extra support through the child tax credit and then beyond the pandemic as well. And I'm proud to join with Congresswoman Pressley in urging the administration to make the child tax credit expansion fully refundable status permanent and to ensure that it is a monthly payment. We must also make sure that the child tax credit is fully refundable, which would help our middle and low-income families enjoy the full value of the credit. We should also create a safe harbor for the 3 million children who change the adult they live with each year, ensuring low-income families don't get hit with surprise bills. Our commitment to ending poverty cannot end there. We need to provide families across Massachusetts and the country with monthly recurring payments. A $1,400 check in the American Rescue Plan was a strong down payment. But in order to make it through this crisis on their feet, people across this country need $2,000 every month. That is what Congresswoman Pressley and I were calling for last year. It is what we are calling for this year. It is to make sure that families get the help they need every single month. And I believe that we are on the right path in defeating child poverty in Massachusetts and throughout the United States, but we cannot stop yet. We must continue to fight for parents, for families, for the children of the Commonwealth. And I'm so grateful to all of the professionals who are here at ABCD, who are assisting families each and every day with their taxes to ensure that parents across the Commonwealth are able to secure these life-saving benefits. You are the true heroes, and I'm so honored to be standing with you here today. We just have to fight every single day to make sure that those who are most vulnerable get what they need. That's what the American Rescue Plan is, and we have to keep it going in order to make sure that families who live in poverty know that it's time to ask their country what it's going to do for them. That's what we're doing right now. That's what we're going to continue to fight for. Now, we're fighting up top a picture of Ayanna Pressley, because that's who she is, the great Congresswoman in the city of Boston, Ayanna Pressley.
Woo!
I do want to thank my good colleague here and my partner in good trouble, Senator Markey. Welcome to the Massachusetts 7th, which I actually refer to as the Fighting 7th. And that is because this is a district that is vibrant, diverse, and dynamic, but it is one of the most unequal in our country. And so the inequities and disparities and the racial injustices, the disparate outcomes across housing, health, economically, these fights, these battles are not new to us, are not new to ABCD. They've been in the trenches, on the front lines doing this work for a very long time. And so I think with this child tax credit and with the American Rescue Plan, what we are saying to our families in the midst of unprecedented hurt, that we are putting forward an unprecedented response and unprecedented solutions, like the child tax credit, because that's what this moment demands. And not only that we are meeting the acute needs and mitigating the hurt that people are experiencing right now, but that we are charting a different path forward, because we cannot recover to a pre-COVID normal that was already insufficient. So again, thank you, Senator Markey, for your partnership and for joining us here today. Again, this pandemic has brought with it a tsunami of hurt that has destabilized and caused great harm to workers, to our families, robbing us of 550,000 lives and shoving millions of families into poverty. And as a result of the Republican stonewalling and criminal negligence by the previous administration, our communities are experiencing record levels of food and housing insecurity. Thousands have lost their jobs, and countless families have been forced to exhaust, if they had, their entire savings just to keep the lights on and to cover the cost of groceries, diapers, and formula. Again, pre-COVID, there were 3.7 million eviction filings, and 1 in 4 families were struggling with food insecurity. And only 40% of families even had $400 saved to weather a disruptive life event, like a layoff, like illness, like death. So families have been hurting for a long time, and this pandemic has really only laid bare that hurt and exacerbated it. But help is on the way. Thanks to the leadership of the Biden-Harris administration and this Democratic majority Congress, help is on the way. Now, earlier this month, we passed the American Rescue Plan in Congress, a massive step forward in our efforts to provide critical relief to the millions of workers and families struggling because of this pandemic. Due to tireless organizing from local organizers, advocates, and progressives in Congress, the American Rescue Plan includes survival checks with expanded eligibility for mixed immigration status families, adult dependents, state and municipal aid, critical funding for housing, utilities, and vaccine distribution. And what brings us here today? And most importantly, a historic expansion of the child tax credit. Some are characterizing the American Rescue Plan as the most robust piece of anti-poverty legislation in modern history. I agree with that assessment. By expanding the child tax credit from $2,000 to $3,000 per child for families with children ages 6 to 17, and $3,600 for those with children under the age of 6, the American Rescue Plan is estimated to cut child poverty in half. Right here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the American Rescue Plan is expected to lift 55,000 children out of poverty. 55,000. We find ourselves in the heart of the Massachusetts 7th, the fighting 7th Congressional District, one of the most vibrant and diverse districts in the country, but again, one of the most unequal. A district where at least 17% of residents live below the poverty line. A district where roughly 24% of children live below the poverty line. So for those in my district, this expanded child tax credit is an economic game changer. It's going to help countless families put food on the table, stay safely housed, buy formula, diapers, medicine, and access other essentials. Simply put, the American Rescue Plan is a historic investment in our children and families, and a testament to the unapologetic advocacy of progressives in Congress and their partners in community who have organized and mobilized relentlessly to secure this provision in the American Rescue Plan, along with other critical resources to support our most vulnerable neighbors. But make no mistake, our work is far from finished. With the expanded child tax credit set to expire at the end of 2021, it is critical that Congress make this expansion permanent, because again, we cannot recover to a pre-COVID normal. It was already insufficient. We have to chart a better path forward. And so we have to make this expansion permanent and continue pursuing policies which legislate healing, recovery, and address the root causes of poverty. And we must ensure that this expanded child tax credit works for everyone. Our single-parent households, like the one I grew up in, our households where folks are working multiple jobs, our immigrant families. Because as the late Representative Doris Bunty said, and as I stand here, I want to evoke the name of another shero of mine, Jeanette Boone. Representative Doris Bunty, a shero of mine, once said, she recently passed away, being poor is not a character flaw. Poverty, I'm saying this, is not naturally occurring. It is a policy choice. It is a direct result of precise, intentional policy violence, which has inflicted hurt and harm on our communities, especially Black and brown communities, for generations. So as we begin to look forward to a long-term recovery, we must continue to center our most vulnerable neighbors in our policymaking and continue pushing for policies that are just, that are equitable, that meet the scale and scope of this crisis. And that means making the expanded child tax credit permanent, investing in child care, a $15 minimum wage, eliminating the single parent penalty, providing robust and permanent paid leave protections, canceling student debt, rent and mortgages, and so much more. So again, I thank My progressive partner in good trouble, Senator Markey, once again for his partnership in this effort. And I'd like to introduce another shero of mine, Sharon Scott Chandler, Executive Vice President at ABCD. She has been a close ally in informing that which we fought to secure in the American Rescue Plan, and will continue to support the important work ahead. Thank you, Congresswoman. And you are sure. Good morning, everyone. As the Congresswoman said, my name is Sharon Scott Chandler, and I'm Executive Vice President and COO of ABCD, and I bring greetings and thank you to the Senator, the Congresswoman, for your leadership, your championship, for fighting for us and our communities in Congress. We're so lucky to have both of you on the front lines in Washington to help the communities hardest hit. As we know, and as you all have both said, before this pandemic, we were hardest hit then. And so it's only been exacerbated. The pain, the hurt, the inequity has only been tripled and doubled in so many instances. So thank you for your leadership. As you said about the child tax credit, it's an incredible amount of money for folks to have to survive this pandemic. And it's a flexible amount of money. It's not just giving folks the rental assistance or the food pantry. It is saying, do what you need to do with this money by getting it back into your pockets when you do your taxes. Last year, we did over 3,000 tax returns through our volunteer income tax program. And that was in the midst of the pandemic. So we know people are still needing this. Obviously, they are still coming to get it. And so this will add to the incredible resource that you've already provided. The expanded tax credit of up to $3,600 per child allows families to pay bills. It allows families to pay rent. It allows families to put their children and child into work. These are the basic necessities that we all need. In addition to the wonderful child tax credit, there are other pieces that you've mentioned that are incredibly important to our communities. EITC, the expanded EITC, allowing more young people to get additional funding. Additionally, our tax volunteers have helped residents who were eligible for the first 2 economic payments, but did not receive them, to claim the recoverable rebate credit that will ensure they receive all the payments. As the Senator said, we're looking forward to families being able to, on a monthly basis, get resources into their homes. Yes, tax returns and getting people the tax returns is helpful. We need it on a monthly basis, that resource that comes in. During this pandemic, thanks to both of you and your colleagues in Congress, we have been able to meet some of the needs that we've seen. Our food pantry demand has doubled. We've provided more than $1 million in rental assistance. We have provided direct relief for people needing child care, food assistance, car repairs, funeral expenses. And those continue. They continue. We are not out of this by any stretch. And in fact, the need keeps growing. And so this American Rescue Plan, which invests money in child care and early childhood education and housing, in tax relief, it is what is going to get us through that period of